So we do not have a sponsor. If you want to help us keep the lights on, buy a t-shirt by going to the link in the bio. And don't forget to subscribe,
like, comment and spread the good news. God bless.
Welcome back to the Reclaim the Faith podcast. This is episode 20. It is produced, as always, by Magic Door Studio, the best podcast studio in Ireland. They provide every service. They are the best of the best. So come along to Magic Door Studio. And
On fire.
the Life and Spirit seminars continues tomorrow night in Our Lady Immaculate Church, and it is the baptism of the Holy Spirit. Do not miss it. I know a lot of people will be coming every week, so make sure you stick it out and stick the course. It's the 4th week or 5th?
Fifth. It's going to be the 5th.
It's going to be the 5th week and 2 more weeks after that, so hopefully see you all there.
And today we have Patricia McNally, isn't it?
That's
Isn't
right,
that right?
yeah.
Patricia McNally, and all the way from, where did you come from?
From Enniscorthy, County Wexford.
Up in Enniscorthy.
You're very welcome.
A lot of my people now will come from there, from Wexford. The Connorses will come from Wexford.
All right, yeah. I'm originally from Dublin, from the inner city, but I'm living in Wexford
Where in
now.
the inner city are you from?
So from Greek Street, that's where I grew up, Greek Street, Charles
Up
Street
around
area,
Dublin, yeah.
up around, so right in the heart of the city, yeah.
Right,
Yeah,
wow.
so find myself in Wexford now after.
And you're only back from Medjugorje, aren't you?
Just back from Medjugorje, yeah. I was out there a couple of weeks ago, and it was just a beautiful, special experience of my 4th time in Medjugorje. So I just keep wanting to go back all the time.
Every time we get a guest in, tell us about it, and we're like, we have to go. But finally, we are going next year in August,
Yeah,
isn't it? August.
we are, yeah.
So we can't wait. And we're away to Barbandal in January as well.
Wow.
So lots to look
That's
forward
amazing,
to.
yeah.
This maybe start off, Patricia, if you want to tell us maybe a bit about your upbringing and, you know, where you found yourself in faith and where it led you to.
Yeah.
Just so the listeners.
Yeah, so I was brought up in a Catholic family. So my mum was very involved with the church. She was an envelope collector for the church, and she was very involved with the parish committees and stuff like that. And that's how she met my dad. She was collecting the church envelopes, and they met. And I had 2 aunts who were priest housekeepers as well. One of my aunts was a housekeeper in my own parish church, so I'd always call into her after school, and you know, I got to know all the priests very well. And my other aunt was a priest housekeeper in St. Patrick's Church in Soho, so we used to go to London to visit her a lot. So I kind of grew up in that environment of a deep Catholic faith. We'd say the rosary in the evening time, and I'd go on parish pilgrimages to Knock and to places like that. So I grew up in the faith. I've lovely memories of like torchlight processions, the oblates, and on Monday night we'd have the Miraculous Medal devotion, and on Thursday night we'd have Holy Hour. So I'd go to regular mass on Sunday. So God was always a part of my life growing up. I didn't know, he was always there. Like, so it was just part of me growing up, you know.
Mm-hmm.
And my mum was very, very devoted to me. My parents always just gave their whole time to me. You know, I was brought up as an only child, so my mum gave up work when I came along. So I was very closely connected to her and to my aunts. You know, so yeah. So I can say that I really had a lovely upbringing in the faith. You know,
Deeply rooted. Then, was there like a bump along the way? Was there a change from that devoted Catholic life, or?
Yeah, I suppose growing into my teenage years, I suppose out of curiosity, I started to dabble a little bit into like horoscopes, and at home, like you would think it was harmless, but like you'd be looking at tea leaves and stuff like that. That's how it kind of, it started kind of off like that. The journey that I ended up going on started as something as small as that. So I was always kind of drawn to holistic fairs and things like that. So I was always attending these kind of things and kind of got deeper and deeper into it. And I kind of, I didn't necessarily want to move away from my faith, but I just kind of drifted down this road. I went to a fair one year, and then I felt drawn to taking up bioenergy healing, because I felt drawn to healing ministry or some sort of ministry like that, you know. But I attended a bioenergy course for a year, and after that then I became interested in like astrology, And myself and my friend decided to go to an astrology course one night. So when we got to the place, there was no astrology course on, but it was tarot reading. It was a tarot reading course. And while I was a little bit apprehensive about it, we stayed because we had travelled to the venue and we did the course. So that led me into a darker path then. I was involved with tarot cards, and so I really got deeper and deeper into New Age, and I drifted along this path for about 12 years. Always kind of going deeper into it, like Reiki.
In terms of the tarot cards and the Reiki and everything, obviously, for a lot of our listeners, they mightn't realise that can lead you into a darker path or a dark place. And for you, what did that look like to you? Because obviously you've done this innocently as well, thinking, as we all fall into things, thinking that it's good and it's there for the good of others. But that's why we call him the deceiver, because that's what he does. He deceives people into thinking that it is good.
That's right.
And would that be your kind of experience?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, as I said, I just got into it out of curiosity and then got deeper into it. So didn't see any harm in it. And I suppose I didn't realise that I was going into a deeper pit all the time until I start experiencing kind of panic and anxiety. And that really got worse over time. And the more that started to happen to me, the more therapies I started to go to try and, get rid of whatever it was, the fear or the anxiety. So it was one therapy after another, and drifting into meeting more groups of people involved in New Age, going deeper and deeper into it. So it got to a stage where it was really, really bad, where I actually couldn't leave the house. So I was so numb with fear that I would actually cry in the mornings with the thought of having to go out and pick the children up from school, because I didn't know how I was going to get down the road in the car. I was terrified. I was just completely numb. And people around me couldn't understand really what was going on. They didn't really understand. So it was just really, really horrible time for me. And what happened then was it got so bad then that I started to come out in bruises on my body. So again, like, I was going to more therapies and going deeper and deeper into all these kind of areas, to try and get rid of whatever it was. But then I began to feel a presence on my left side and around my head. So trying to explain that to people was difficult, because, you say you feel a presence, nobody can really understand it. So that at this stage I was really, really frightened. I didn't know what was going on. And I kind of went to the doctor. I explained the bruises, showed him the bruises, and he said, "No, you must have banged yourself." And I said, "No, I didn't. Like, these have just appeared on me." So he gave me a prescription, which I took for about 2 days, and then I said, "No, that's it. I'm not taking this. This is something more serious. Like, there's something wrong with me, So I literally, one day I got so bad that I literally knelt down on the floor in my kitchen, and I said, "Jesus, please help me. Please help me. I don't know what to do. I don't know where else to go. I can't leave the house. I'm terrified. I'm numb." And I just called out to him for help, and I cried. And then after that, like, even though, when I was involved in all of this, people were saying Jesus is one of the ascended masters or whatever, I knew it didn't resonate with me, but it was Jesus I called out to for help. So in deep inside me, I knew that he could help me, and he was the one.
Who says this, that Jesus was one of the ascended masters?
With the groups and the New Age people that I was involved in, with the meditations that I was involved in, yeah.
So he's like one of many
gods. He's one of many, yeah. He's one of the ascended. He is one of many. So at that point, when I did hear that, it didn't resonate with me at the time. I just thought, no, that's not really the way I was brought up, or Jesus is God, So I suppose alarm bells and red flags started to go off when I did hear that. But I was so clouded by it that I just, nothing could get through to me.
Yeah.
I was like, I'd say I was probably oppressed. I was at the next stage would have been possession, I'd say, with the bruising. Now that I looked into it, years later when I've looked into it, that is part of like oppression that can happen.
Yeah.
So
Wow.
I was very close to being completely taken over. Like,
And it's mad.
yeah,
It's a very tricky world because it seems harmless on the outset to somebody.
yeah,
I went to one of these Reiki things before just to film it. We were following a girl for a documentary years ago, and what struck me was that everybody at it were very damaged,
yeah,
very damaged.
yeah,
And I'm very good at reading someone's anxiety.
yeah,
Their anxiety was through the roof in that room. And I
yeah,
happened to be with a psychotherapist who was
yeah,
my fellow filmmaker, and we were both like, "This is mad. Something's
yeah,
off."
yeah,
We weren't quite. This is maybe 7, 8 years ago. We weren't. I wasn't quite going to where I go to now, looking at it from a spiritual sense.
yeah,
But I felt something was off with it.
yeah.
And it seems to be tricking a lot of people, pulling a lot of people in, and particularly women online.
Yeah.
Like what is Reiki anyway? Reiki is supposed to be a healing
Yeah, it's supposed to be a healing therapy,
practice.
that you're working with chakras and you're calling in spirit guides to help heal the person. With bioenergy, it was working with the course I did. You were working with the energy levels, the chakras, and you're basically, putting your hands around the person and clearing and cleansing chakras and all of this kind of thing. But I mean, it's opening a doorway for evil spirits to come in. And even though even people who are working with Reiki might say, well, I work with the Holy Spirit, or I work with a saint, or whatever, you can't. It doesn't work like that.
See, the thing is, a lot of the listeners who may be listening to this, mightn't understand because they look at that and think that it is for the greater good or whatever, and some people look at us like we're mad because you're trying to tell them that you are dabbling in dark stuff and you're unaware of it because, that in the essence, that's what his plan is to come in and not make people aware that it is something bad. And Wade John says, like, a lot of people who are broken are drawn to it. But the thing is that when people are broken, they're searching and they're looking for something that's going to help them.
Yeah.
And when they fall into these groups and organizations, in the first instance, it's making them feel like, I feel great, I feel good, and I'm helping others. And you feel like you are doing something good. And I know family members who are part of the same kind of thing, and they believe it's for the greater good and that they're helping others. So it's very hard to navigate and have these conversations when people believe that it is for the greater good.
Yeah.
But the proof is in high, longevity of something. And nobody stays in this forever. Anybody I've known who've gone into it have fallen out of it because they have come across some sort of a darkness or something that wasn't right. And that wee inner, I would say, inner God that was in you from the rosaries when you were younger, from all those moments of prayer, was obviously always calling you back.
Was calling me back,
and that's my hope for others.
Yeah, exactly.
I suppose
that's it, because you don't realize it when you're involved in it, and you're going deeper and deeper into it. I mean, after I called out to the Lord for help, then kind of a series of events kind of happened in my life. Then I just got this really strong feeling to go to a town 10 minutes away to the hairdressers down there. And I'd never been to a hairdressers down there before and didn't make an appointment, but it was so strong. I have to go down to Ferns and the hairdressers was down there. So I went down and the hairdresser was closed and it was open in an hour. So I was standing there and the church was beside the hairdresser. So I said, I'll go in and I'll wait in the church. So I went into the church and Mass was on. So I stayed for Mass. And there was a group of people there after Mass saying the rosary. And they turned around to me and they said, would you like to join us for the rosary? So I said, oh yeah, thanks. So I joined them for the rosary. And after that, then I got talking to them. And they probably knew by me that I looked probably stressed and panicked. And, maybe whatever way I looked at the time, I'm sure I didn't look great. I was, I had all this anxiety over me and fear. So we were talking, and the conversation came up about what I was involved in, and one of the gentlemen said to me, "That's idolatry. You need to get out of that immediately." And that was the first time I ever heard that word. That it's idolatry, And he explained to me the dangers of it. So I wasn't sure because I didn't know if I could trust who I could trust or what I could do or what to do. So I thought about it and it did kind of strike a chord with me. So when I went home then I was thinking more about it and I said I'll go back down the next day to the same church and they had prayers, they'd morning prayer on down there. So I went down for divine office and when I went in, the same group of people were there and the gentleman was there as well. And he came over to me and he said, "Hello, Veronica." And I looked at him and that was my mum's name. My mum had died and that was my mum's name. And I said, "It's Patricia." And he said, "Veronica," just kept coming to me. And I said, "That's my mum's name." So I knew then that was the Lord saying to me, "You're in a safe place now and you can trust, you can trust these people here." So I came down there for divine office then most mornings. And so I was kind of nurtured back then that way. But another thing happened then just after that. My friend was watching the Late Late Show and the friars from my Ross were speaking on it and they were coming to another area near us. So she came over to me. She knew how bad I was in the house, that I couldn't get out. And she said, "We need to go to Glenbrine," was the place of the church where the friars were coming. "I need to bring you to Glenbrine." So we went to Glenbrine. The church was lit up with beautiful candles. And the minute I walked in, I felt safe. I felt a sense of, I can just relax here. I'm just safe. And the friar came out and he said, "Jesus is present." And when it came to the homily time, the first thing he said was, "Ireland has a real problem with New Age." And we just both looked at each other, myself and my friend, and we felt as he was speaking directly to us. So after the Mass, we spoke to him and I told him what was going on with me. And my friend had a health scare as well because I had got her involved in stuff that I was involved in. So he said, "You both need to have deliverance, confession and deliverance." So he happened to be in another area of the diocese the next day. So he said, "Come down, I'm in this church and we'll have deliverance and prayers and confession." So I had a full deliverance, full confession. And so that was amazing, because that I didn't know that, that all of this was going on and that I was actually under some sort of a hold, that Satan had a hold over me and he had a hold over my life. And it was just amazing then to be able to, for somebody to finally say, "Yeah, this is the reason why all this is happening to you. And this is what we need to do. And this is how you can be helped and be freed from it,
When you had that confession, did you feel or the deliverance, sorry, did you feel, me and John often say when we go
Yeah.
into confession, we come out, we're like, whoa, floating, exaggerating,
Yeah.
but we do feel like a weight is lifted.
Yeah, it was like I just knew I was safe. I knew that, I was freed, even though I still didn't even realize I had done anything wrong. I didn't realize that it was idolatry and that I had turned in the opposite direction from God. So I just felt safe. I just felt completely free and safe, that, the darkness had no more hold over me anymore, So it was just, it was a powerful experience, to be able to have that, and for it to be recognised that was the reason. So Mass then was just, was my breathing space. That's the way I would describe it, because when I'd go to Mass, that's where I felt safe. That's where I just felt the presence of Jesus and I knew that I was just home and that was it. I'd made the journey home and he came after me. I just felt like I was just the lost sheep and he just left the 99 and came after me. And I was attending a baby group because the kids were small. So we used to bring them to a little baby group, and on the shelf in the hall, there were a load of books and there was a sign there saying, "Please feel free to borrow a book," or whatever. So one book just jumped out at me one day, and it was called Gods of the New Age by Carol Matriskian, I think it was. And I picked up that book, and when I opened it and started reading it, everything that she spoke about, I was going through, had experienced. And that was another sign that the Lord was, showing me. So then I began the journey back then, so I was nurtured back into my faith, and no more panic, no more anxiety. I was free from it all. So yeah, it was just a horrible, horrible time.
Just on the tarot cards as well, the travellers have a tradition in fortune telling.
Yeah.
But they don't use tarot cards, yeah. To be honest with you, I'm laughing because it's just a bit of a blackguard, is what it is, It's like, oh yeah, daughter, yeah, see this. What's that? Yeah, 20 crown or whatever it was. I've seen that back in the day, yeah.
Yeah.
There was no tarot cards or anything. There was no deep. It was just like, yeah, you'll be grand. But the tarot cards, again, even though I've seen the fortune and not the tarot cards, but the tarot cards would have been something that some of my family would have accepted, and then some were so against. It was like a fight between them. My aunts would, I was looking at, and then oh no, it's grand now. It's good old spirits, But what happens with the tarot cards? What actually happens? I presume you were doing them with
I was
people.
doing them, yeah, with people
And
and family
what would
friends.
happen? What would you hear? What would you feel?
So you'd kind of prepare before you were going to read someone's cards or whatever, or your family or friends. You'd kind of prepare, do a kind of a meditation and call in, I had angel cards, Doreen Virtue's angel cards. I had all types of angel cards and tarot cards. But so basically, yeah, you'd be doing kind of a meditation. You'd be calling in these spirit guides to give guidance to the person or whatever, and thinking that you're going to be helping them. Of course, you're doing this with intentions that you think you're either it's a bit of fun or just a bit of a laugh, or you're helping somebody or giving them a bit of guidance, and basically you're laying out the card. They choose the cards out of the deck, and then you're laying them out, and you're explaining what each card means, and you're giving predictions, on say future events and stuff like that based on the cards that they pick,
Mm-hmm.
So again, it's opening to very dark side, because it's all against the first commandment. You know what I mean? I am the Lord your God. You shall not have strange gods before me. So you're inviting all of these spirits to come in and interfere in people's lives. So yeah, so it's, I had to confess all of that, that the consequences that I'd brought on for other people as well,
And is there so with that, am I right in saying that, again, it's kind of about faith as well, as in if they believe what they're being told, it's more likely to happen. Is that, am I
yeah,
getting that
you're
right?
probably prompting things as well, that if they think, yeah, you're taking, people wouldn't be trusting in God or anything like that, it wouldn't be prayer or anything. So you're opening to dark side. So yeah, they're open to dark forces in the cards, and then if they believe something's going to happen, they're probably just going to be focused on that as well. And it just opens a whole other kind of dark side to things that you don't know what you're allowing into your life. I mean, I had a load of stuff then. I had all these cards and everything, and I suppose when I started off, I was drawn to angels, and people think, oh, sure, angels are harmless, and do you know what I mean? There's no harm in the angels. Yeah, there's the holy angels and there's the fallen angels, which I didn't realise at the time. And so the difference is the holy angels lead you towards God, and the fallen angels always want the worship and everything for themselves. So it's all about angel meditations, and they're the fallen angels are the dark angels, so it's Lucifer, and his angels. So
Before I was obviously as much in my faith as I am now, I would have thought that all of that, when it was innocent and it's grand, sure, it's not even real and it's all stupid, and I would have played things down until I came into the fullness of the truth and I understand how dangerous it is. But as I keep saying, a lot of people who watch our podcast mightn't be, in the faith as much, mightn't understand these things, are, seeking advice or help or whatever. So if you were if someone was listening and really only starting out on this journey of New Age and thinking that it is something good, what would you say to that person?
I'd say don't even waste your time going down that road, because there's literally nothing at the end of the road. I got to the end of the road and there was nothing there. There was nowhere else for me to go. I after 12 years of it, every single therapy, every single new age activity that I could have done, I was involved in. And there's nothing at the end of the road. So don't waste your time. Don't open yourself to these influences. When you have the beautiful Mass, you have the sacrament of confession, you have Jesus there in adoration. So you don't need anything else. Jesus is our healer. Jesus is everything. And the Mass is everything in your life, and that's that's where I am now. And I just would strongly advise anyone not to go anywhere near it,
Yeah. You're moving me to tears. It's beautiful. In terms of going into that path, we all, as I say, we're searching for something. Was that the case within yourself? Was it just something lacking?
Yeah, it was kind of like a curiosity in a way. I was always kind of a curious child, so I was a little bit curious, and probably a little bit of curiosity, and just venturing down that road to see, thinking it was harmless. Always just drawn to the fairs and to just to readings, and when you're growing up, you're kind of going to having your cards read and all of that kind of thing. But I mean, having been involved in it, I can see where people are coming from, that they're coming into it. They're coming into it because they're searching. And even though I was probably searching for something and I didn't know what it was, but people are searching, and St. Augustine says, my heart is restless until it rests in you. So they are searching, and they're also coming from a place of grief. I found that as well. There's an awful lot of people with suffering from grief, and they want to connect with loved ones who have died, and they'll go to a medium. They'll latch onto any little, anything they can to try and connect with a loved one. And I've been there myself because my mum died, and I went to medium to try and just to see, if I could connect with her in that way, because you're suffering from you're suffering from the loss of the person, and that's what's drawing people in as well. And people don't realise that at Mass, it's the place where heaven meets earth. And that's where we are most connected with our loved ones who have died, and that's the most special place. And even in adoration, you can actually have a conversation with a loved one who has died as well, because you're there in the presence of Jesus. So your loved one is, we don't assume everyone's gone to heaven, but we pray for our loved ones, and we pray for the holy souls. So, but if there is a conversation or anything that's left undone, or a broken relationship or anything, a wound there, go into adoration, talk to the Lord, bring your conversation to the Lord and ask him to heal that situation. We don't need to go anywhere else except to Jesus, and you connect with our loved ones at Mass. And that's what really came to me. And a poem came to me about Mass then a couple of years ago, just about our loved ones and meeting them at Mass. So that's really where I feel the presence of all those who have gone before me. It's actually been turned into a song. I wrote it as a poem, and it was a priest friend of mine came into the studio one day, and we were chatting, and he came in to the studio, and he was a bit upset when he came in, and I said, "What's wrong with you? Are you okay?" And he said, "Oh, a parent gave out to me about this hymn. We were practicing for the First Holy Communion children, and a parent didn't like this hymn." And he said, "Have a read of it." And it was beautiful. It was a beautiful hymn. And I said, "I can't see anything wrong with that. That was beautiful." And I said, "I didn't know that you composed music." And he said, "Oh yeah, I compose music and stuff." And I said, "I have this poem at home knocking around for a long time. Would you have a look at it?" So he had a look at it. A couple of days later, all these sheets of music arrived, and he said the music just came to him straight away. So I can't read music or anything. So anyway, it was turned into a song. So it's imagine a meeting place not too far away, where our loved ones gather to be with us each day. Imagine a moment immersed in pure love, where they send us peace from God's dwelling above. Imagine if you could be with them there, sharing God's love in a moment of prayer. And I just felt completely at home with the Lord, and just at peace, and just really contented in myself, and something, there was a void there, obviously, because I had drifted for so long. So there was a void there. I was missing God in my life. So back to that personal relationship with the Lord. And that has grown then since over the last years since I've come back, and that's the key point, is having a personal relationship with Jesus.
Have you ever went to therapy? Therapy.
Like therapy?
Therapy.
Psychology and all that stuff?
No.
You've never done any of that?
Never done any of that,
Right.
no.
I was just wondering because of the different sort of things you were doing. Was that something you went into? Because that's increasingly interesting to me as well. Like,
no.
In that, it seems to be, and that's, it's for secular healing.
Yeah.
But there seems to be a real darkness there, especially if you look at the people who are the kind of forebearers of it, or the godfathers of it, the Sigmund Freuds and that.
Yeah.
Were very dark people.
Kind of like positive thinking, all this kind of stuff, or
Yeah,
that kind of
Freud
thing.
was Freud was sort of involved in satanic stuff and was a cocaine addict and used his psychological doctrine to manipulate and abuse women sexually. And he is the godfather of psychology, of psychotherapy. Yeah. So everything comes from Freud.
Yeah.
Everything. And so much, even the language that we have ourselves.
Yeah.
He created so much of the language that we just have in our own vocabulary.
Yeah, that's
Freud has created all this. It's just it's just an interesting subject because it's what people go to in the secular world for healing versus in the spiritual world, God. You know?
Exactly.
And it's not that that there isn't things we can learn from psychology and that it's all bad either.
I tried both because obviously, a bit like yourself, I was brought up Catholic and was always in mass and everything, and my mummy died whenever I was 11, and when my mummy died there was a void, and it was my mummy that would have made us go to mass at the time, not made us, but would have been the one wanting us to go to mass. So when I would say she was the glue, and when she was gone we all we all fell off, and when we fell off is when our life went into complete and utter despair, all of us, my brothers, my daddy and me. We all kind of went from being a united family to very, broken and on our own and trying to solve things on our own. So instead of being united in our grief, I always say we were divided. Don't get me wrong, we all love each other and I love them dearly, but we just didn't know how to cope at the time. And I think that for me was really what was lacking, was the faith side of things. And only as I grew older and fell back into faith, I call it a God-shaped hole in your heart. Like, we have that hole and we fill it with everything else, thinking that it's making us feel better. So I went to therapy at one time, and for me, I felt like it just kept me in a state of going round and round and round, and I wasn't getting any resolve. Or the lady that I was going to was fixated in one thing about my life because she couldn't quite understand something, and she was like, I was almost like an enigma to her. And so that experience for me was just something that led me deeper into despair, I think, because then I started thinking something wrong with me. We're going there in the first case because I think there is something wrong, but she's definitely confirming it here. And then that led me, I would have spent a lot of time in my room writing poetry and stuff, similar to yourself. And then I started watching her documentary All or Nothing, and it kind of brought me back into faith. And it's that feeling you say, like you're home,
you're just home,
at peace, something you never had. Yet we went searching it in all these places, and then it's like a light bulb comes on, but it's been there all the time. But again, we were being led by the world because either grief or something has happened to push us off the path that we were on.
I think for secular people, though, people who are not open to spiritual healing, to God, I think that there are obvious good things about therapy and psychological sort of teachings that can help you for sure. And because I've seen that, I worked as a support worker for 5 years, and I've also experienced some of these teachings that helped me for sure. But again, they're all plasters. Now, my best friend is a psychotherapist, and he's a genius, and he has done unbelievable work transforming people's lives. But I always said about him, even when he was an atheist, and he's not now, I always said he's the most Christian atheist I've ever seen, because he always led with a Christ-like heart always.
Yeah,
And I always said
absolutely.
he's a great example of a Christian. You know, and now he is more towards that leaning now anyway.
Yeah,
You know, and he always did say to me anyway about the great therapists, you either have it in them or they don't. And for me, that's having the Christ in your heart or that light in your heart.
yeah,
You know,
absolutely.
anyway. But I just think that, you know, we can be black and white about things. I think therapy can be a good thing for people if they're not open to God. But I mean, I'm becoming increasingly bewildered at people's lack of open-mindedness towards the other realm, towards God, but towards spirituality.
Yeah,
You know, but even science tells us there's only so much that we can capture with our human eye.
yeah,
There's so
exactly.
much more out there. And what is that that's out there? You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And it seems to be just in the last 20, 30 years that it's creeped in, you know?
That
And
it's
and
creeped
in the
in,
last
yeah,
20, 30
exactly.
years, everything has gone downhill.
Yeah,
Yeah.
Since
that's it.
since
Yeah,
atheism has creeped in because
Yeah,
it brings
that's it.
nothing but despair.
The more God is being pushed out of our lives and everything, you know, the more darkness is coming in, and then it just leads us to despair, you know, and lack of hope. I mean, yeah, I would have read a lot of the kind of positive thinking books. Yeah, I probably would have started off with those really, in earlier years, you know, changing your mind and, you know, all this kind of stuff. But yeah, I suppose that probably would have contributed to leading me into that road as well with New Age stuff, you know. But I mean, we have so much inspiration that we can draw from all the wonderful saints as well. Do you know, my parish church was Church Street, and that's the shrine of the National Shrine of St. Pio. So I grew up at St. Pio. Do you know, he's always been kind of one of my favourite saints. But he's do you know, wonderful, and St. Anthony. So we've so many wonderful new saints now. St. Carlow Acutis, you know, who draws our attention to the Eucharist and the Eucharistic miracles. And we have to look at all of this. I mean, the Catholic Church has so much to offer us, like it's the universal family. So it's just Our Lady is really calling for people to come back. You know, she's appearing in Medjugorje. Her call is for people to come back to her Son, you know, and it's a deep call, and it's one that really is so important right now with everything that's going on in the world.
Amen. You know, I'm curious if we look at it like, you know, what psychology tells you is it gives you practices and teaches certain things that help better your life and relationships and stuff.
Yeah.
If we were to put that lens on faith and how we use it, I'm curious how you get about your everyday life and how you relate to people and how your faith informs how you relate to people.
Yeah.
How does your faith inform how you relate to people?
Well, I suppose God is love. So God is in your life. Love is at the center of your life. Do you know what I mean? And you're a different person because you're trying to be as Christ-like as you can. You're trying to, you know, reach out to others. You'll make more of an effort to reach out to other people. And through the gifts of the Holy Spirit, then we're able to have discernment in our lives and make good decisions, make wise decisions, and help others, you know, in ways that if we weren't of faith, if we weren't thinking of faith, then we would be, we just wouldn't be able to really, you know, you'd be so lost in despair and lack of hope that you wouldn't be able to kind of help other people. And you can see other people suffering, you know, from all sorts of things. You know, I mean, they're searching and just are going around in circles, really, and it's really just time for them to come back and to be welcome, to know that there's a welcome there in the Catholic Church for people to come back, just to come home, you know. Yeah.
I'm curious as well, how do you approach, just what's your approach in this? Like, how do you approach somebody who is lost and someone you love, but they might be resisting God, you know, and they might be frustrating you? How would you approach that?
The first thing to do is to pray for the person, you know, to bring them to the Lord in prayer, to bring them to Mass when the priest is raising the host and the chalice, to place them into the chalice there with the Lord, you know, and first and foremost to pray for them. Also maybe just trying to, like Jesus met the woman at the well, so meeting the person where they're at, you know, and just keeping on good terms with them, being friendly with them, being kind to them, and just listening to them. But prayer is the most important thing you can do for anybody who may not be open to listening or to receiving help. Yeah.
And with your own mental struggles, then do you still have bouts of anxiety, depression,
No,
anything like
never
that?
had anything since. No, that was all completely gone.
When was
How
that?
long have you been away from New Age?
So probably close to 18 years or so away from it now. Yeah. So I've it's faded into the background, but I mean it's it's just, even just thinking about it and bringing it all back up to mind is hard to kind of go through it all and believe it all the stuff that kind of happened, and how, I suppose
Sometimes as well, God allows us to go through these things to deepen the faith too. And that's a thing that people forget, we all have free will, and he allows us to go to those places in order to see the truth. And I suppose that happened with yourself, because you came out the other end and you seen the truth. So sometimes those moments are allowed to deepen something, and I feel you've got a deeper faith from
absolutely
from that, and from seeing, and now God will be using you in a way to help others who have fallen into that path to see the truth and the light.
Yeah, that's it. I think God brings you through it in order for you to be able to help others, to guide others. Yeah, exactly.
It really is taking over at the minute, and it's big, and people, like, there is just a real, people don't care about God anymore. There is obviously the devout who are still out there, but see, even sometimes when we're posting videos up on Facebook and everything, and I seen some fella the other day write to John, oh, he's following you now because you're just born or whatever. But it's like these people do not understand, and I understand we're meeting them where they're at, but it's like people make a judgment on you or this or that, and all. I mean, all we've become is a lot happier and full of joy and want to do better for others. And it's changed us completely. And it's like we just want to share that, it. And we might look mad while we're trying to do it, but sure, don't we all?
The thing of looking mad, like someone literally said, "No, he's gone God mad," or he's a Jesus freak, and I was like, "Hang on." When I was self-destructive, when I was like living every day like it was my last, I was depressed to death when all of you were supposedly worried about me, then I was all right. Now I found
loved
God.
you then.
Yeah,
you were a
Now I'm
legend.
full of joy in my heart, and now I'm crazy.
And you're a fanatic.
Come on.
It is mad. But again, it just shows you kind of the way the world is and where everybody's at. It blows my mind sometimes though. It's like,
and when you go to places like Medjugorje, you see the faith, you see the reverence, it's just the peace there is just beautiful. And you see so many people coming back to the faith, so many people coming back to confession. It's the world's confession box, really, out there, isn't it?
It's a place for conversions,
it's
doesn't
absolutely. There's so many fruits coming from Medjugorje, vocations to the priesthood and everything like that. Like the first year I went was 7 years ago, and I was there for an apparition when the apparitions were happening on the 2nd of the month. And it was just amazing to be at the bottom of Apparition Hill. We couldn't get anywhere near the top at that time. But when the visionary went up to the top of the mountain, people were praying the rosary, and then we heard loads of screaming and all of that. So people were saying it's normal out there for that to happen, when a lady's appearing. Because demons just have to flee then in the presence of Our Lady. So the clouds, as the apparition was happening, the clouds just parted and the sun came right down and started pulsating right in front of us. So it was a huge experience to witness that, and really powerful. So every time I've been there, I've had different experiences in Medjugorje. So it's just wonderful to see the faith and to experience the peace and to hear the call of Our Lady, calling people back, back to reverence, back to the understanding of the real presence of her Son in the Eucharist as well. That was something that came to me out there as well, and has stayed with me. So
yeah, that's very important. We've been talking about that lately as well, just sort of examining people who are lining up to receive the Eucharist, and it's become so casual that we're losing the meaning of it.
Yeah.
But we were at the Eucharistic procession Sunday
in Derry.
It was the worldwide procession.
Yeah.
Went down in Ireland, and it was a very special day. It was probably 5,000 or 6,000 people, I think.
Yeah, there was.
For most of it, and then the weather kicked in, and it was
Yeah.
real
All
spiritual
the elements were
warfare.
against you.
Yeah.
Honestly, it was
Yeah.
mad.
But Bishop Donal,
Oh, he's
what a
saint of
man, what a man, a saint of a man. He went down the Foyle River and
Yeah.
consecrated the river.
That's right. I was watching that. Yeah, it's powerful.
And that, of course, that river, from what I
Yeah.
hear, has taken more lives than
Yeah.
through suicide than the whole Troubles.
Yeah.
So it's like it's events like that, processions like that I think is just going to increase the awareness around the real
Yeah.
meaning.
The real
behind it.
meaning. Yeah, exactly.
Love to know more about your work within Christian media.
Yeah.
Yeah, so I'm involved with Christian Media Trust. We produce programs for Southeast Radio. So we make about 6 programs a week. And I'm in the broadcasting end of it there in our own studio. I present a weekly Sunday morning program called Sounds for Sunday. And that's based on the gospel of the day, but people send in requests, birthday, anniversary requests for the program as well. So I enjoy doing that every week. We've another range of programs. We've a Faith Matters program on a Monday evening where people share their own testimonies. So we've had a huge amount of wonderful, powerful testimonies over the last 3 or 4 years that program has been airing. And I'd say probably about 90% of those testimonies all have a link with Medjugorje. So it's just amazing. So I'm around good news all the time, which is great. You know, we've a busy studio, people coming in, preparing programs, recording, and getting the programs on air. So it's hearing good news stories all the time, and the powerful work of Jesus in people's lives. It's just amazing, you know. So I'm normally not at this side of the microphone, as you can probably tell, but used to being at the other side of it. But you know, so yeah.
How long have you been there?
So I've been there nearly 6 years. Before that, I was just making some programs for them myself,
Mm-hmm.
and been there about 6 years now. Yeah, so
It's very important though
Absolutely
to
love
have
it,
that,
yeah.
like Christian representation in media, because
Yeah.
Christian matters, Christian values, these are not expressed in mainstream media at all.
No, they're not. No,
It's very important, isn't it? That
it's
representation.
very important. Yeah, and it's very important to have that representation. We're very blessed to have our programs aired on a major station, and you know, we receive so much wonderful feedback from listeners as well about our programs, and they find them, you know, really just uplifting. And we've a little bit of catechesis in there as well, and just inspirational programs, people sharing testimonies, and you know, so it's what's needed, because there's so much bad news out there that it's so important, like yourselves, to have this ministry, you know, that you have as well, which is wonderful, you know, for people. Yeah.
Thank you.
It just makes me think of what's going on a bit in the world now, you know, right now at the moment. But it seems to be actually that it's becoming a little bit more mainstream with some of the Christian persecution across the world.
Yeah.
335 Catholics were abducted the other day in Nigeria, in northern Nigeria. And a few days before that, 105 maybe, and a lot of kids, 60, 70 kids, school children, kids. Sudan, it's happening in Mozambique, Congo. The Congo, just there yesterday, 20 Christians were put in a mass grave, slaughtered in a mass grave. But what is encouraging actually is that it is becoming a little bit more mainstream, just literally in the last couple of months. It seems to be, you know, even Donald Trump, for whatever people have to say about Donald Trump, good, bad, or indifferent, he's been talking about it and actually took action against Nigeria and put them as a country of, I think it's a country of worry or a country of conflict or something, which affects them economically. Nicki Minaj has come out, and Nicki Minaj spoke to the UN about it, and she's lost hundreds of thousands of followers, but it seems to be people are speaking up a bit more, you know, and
People are speaking up a bit more.
as an important issue as we can talk about.
Yeah, it's so important. I mean, like, you know, we're so blessed to be able to have our faith, to go to mass and to practice our faith, you know, because our ancestors who've gone before us gave us this gift. They handed it down to us, you know, and we should really treasure it. We don't realise how blessed we are, you know, to be able to. And I know it's getting more difficult in the world to come out as, you know, as express your faith as Catholic and all of that, you know, but we're so blessed.
That's why
you know.
that is, though. Like,
Yeah,
why is
why
that?
is
Why is the attack on that? You know,
Yeah.
that in itself should make people sit up and think.
Yeah.
When that is the thing that is being attacked most, it must make you think, why?
Yeah.
It does for me. And obviously we know why. But even just when we are talking about us putting things out on social media, and yet, as John says, the world was happy when he was
Yeah.
an absolute wreck and destroying himself.
Yeah.
And now that he's doing something that is not only good for him, but for the good of others, you know,
Yeah.
people's opinions change, and you're still, I mean, he's still the same John, probably in a better John, because he's treating himself better, which for when you treat yourself better, you behave better, you're nicer to others. It's the same with myself. Whenever I was in a place, like, I didn't have time for people, I would be like, oh, I can't be bothered. You just no motivation, and you were closed off to things, and now I'm more open and would be more willing to go to help others, and would have more patience, and I just would find myself an all round, like, better, as in think better, behave better, because obviously I now think before I do things. Like, oh, should I, you know? And I'm not saying like faith restricts you in a way. I know a lot of people think when you have faith it restricts you, or you can't do things, or this or that. It doesn't actually. Like, we're free. We're freest I've ever felt in my life is through having faith. But I believe that discernment is a big thing, and I feel that through discernment I'm meant to make better decisions. And it's not necessarily for myself, usually, even just for you know, like meeting John and all different kind of things. I would never, like, I was just very closed before I had faith. I would say a very closed off person, and very reclusive, and very inward, and everything was dark and sad, and just a dark, lonely kind of soul, I suppose.
Let's realise, I suppose, God has a plan for each one of us in our lives, you know, and we're all born at this point in time in history for a reason as well, you know.
What a time to be born, should we say.
What a time to be born, exactly.
You know, a lot of the saints actually say that they would love to be here in this time, because there is many graces, and, you know, even though we are living in what we keep saying, you know, a dark time and a dark world, there is light, light, and the light come from the likes of Sister Claire here, servant God and soon to be, I know, saint. You know, these pillars of light that are pointing us back to Christ and pointing us back to the true path. As much as there's all this darkness and madness happening around us, there is all these pockets of light where God is not giving up on his people. So we must.
And the people of Ireland, I mean, Ireland is rising up. Like, there's so many, you know, groups around Ireland now on fire with faith, and I think, you know, it's powerful, you know, to see that happening. It's time really to stand up for our faith, and to speak out, and to share, and to help others on the journey to come back, you know.
What's your prayer kind of life like, in your spiritual sort of practice? What do you do?
So I try to go to Mass every day. And that's my main focus, you know, if I can attend Mass every day, and try to say the Rosary. If I'm driving, try to fit in the Rosary there. Talking to the Lord mostly in conversation, really, you know, speaking to him. I say the little prevenient act in the morning where you hand over your day to God's will for you for the day, and then whatever happens in the day, you have peace of mind, or, you know, it's all part of God's will. So, you know, he's looking after everything, and trusting in him. And, you know, confession, try to attend confession every 2 weeks if possible. Just chatting to the Lord, adoration, as much as I can. But Mass is my safe haven. Mass is where everything is just comes together, and you can be with the Lord and be with all your loved ones, you know.
With chatting to Jesus, with talking to Jesus, what do you get back?
Well, if I'm speaking to him, peace, a sense of, you know, you'd often get, like, you know, feel him, I suppose, reassuring you. I suppose trusting is a big thing that I suppose I have to learn to trust more, and taking leaps of faith a bit more, and trusting, but a sense of peace, a sense of that he's looking after my life and he has a plan, for everything that's happening in my life. So when you hand everything over, then you don't have to be worrying. You don't have to waste time worrying over stuff. So whatever happens will happen according to his will. So you'll find joy in whatever outcome you have in your life, because the joy is in knowing that his will is being done in your life. So even if it's a prayer that you might feel wasn't answered in the way you wanted, or you might feel it wasn't answered, every prayer is answered is always answered. Yeah. So
you often get people saying, well, if you're talking to God, like, how do you know he's answering you? But you said something earlier, and I know it's something that's happened in both John and our lives. When you went into that mass that time and you felt like the priest was speaking directly to you, you were like, that's because that's happened. I've prayed for something, and then I've had a moment where I went into a mass and it was literally like God has literally spoke directly to me from what that priest saying, because just a moment before I'd gone in there, I asked for something and I never got so much clarity in my life. And you feel it. It's something that's felt within.
That's
and
it. You
it's
feel
hard
it
to
within,
explain to others, isn't
and
it?
there's like little, when you look back and you can see all the little God incidences in your life as well. I remember last year I was preparing. We take a stand at the Divine Mercy Conference every year. So it was the night before. I had a few things to get for the stand and I ran to the shop, and it was just an incident that happened that kind of struck me. I was in the shop and was at the checkout, and a young chap came in with a kitten in his arms, and the kitten had a little jacket on, kind of a little scruffy kind of a kitten, and he was asking people, does anyone own this? He's after following me up the road and I've carried him. And we were like, no, we don't know who owns him. Like, so I was watching the time, it was 5 to 7, it was getting 7 o'clock mass, and I came out to the car and he came out and he was still holding the kitten. And I said, you're very good to mind it, like, and all. And I was trying to chat to him, but I was still trying to watch the time. I was in a hurry. So he said, you wouldn't hold the kitten for me, would you, while I run in to get a few things? And I said, yeah, sure. I said, I'm running to mass, but I said, yeah, no problem. So I thought, is he going to just leave the kitten with me now and, head off? But I was standing there with the kitten and holding him. So he came back and he took him off me anyway. And I was driving up to mass, and I was just going into the church, and I was like, I can't receive. I'd been receiving on the hand. I was like, I can't receive on the hand. And I was like, oh. So I was queuing up then for Holy Communion, and I said, I can't receive on the hand. So I just felt really strongly the Lord saying to me, I want you to receive on the tongue. And I heard this over several times in my mind. So that's what I did. And then the next day at the Divine Mercy Conference, I met a friend of mine, you probably know, Anto Crossi.
I know.
We met him up there and we were chatting, and a conversation just came up out of the blue about receiving on the tongue. And I didn't say anything of what happened the night before, but it resonated with me. And I said, okay, Lord, that's confirmation to me now that, what you're saying to me. And then when I was out in Medjugorje, I was out there in June for the anniversary of the apparitions, and we were at Mass there, and I was waiting to receive Holy Communion, and was going to receive on the tongue, and I felt Our Lady saying to me, this is my son, this is my son. And I felt I just dropped to my knees, because I just felt that it really, really hit me, and since I came back then from Medjugorje, since June, that's what I took back with me, because I feel it's just a small little gift that I can give back to Our Lady, to show the reverence for her son, because I think that's so badly needed. Not that I'm not saying everybody should kneel down and receive, on the tongue, but that for me, that's what I feel is right for me to do. And it's just.
It seems to be that, though.
Yeah.
Obviously, of course, we're not here to tell people to do that.
No.
But it seems to be, for me, looking at it, that's where we need to get to.
Yeah.
If we're going to have a revival of the church.
Yeah.
Because that's where we were.
Yeah.
People went and did mass out at rocks in the middle of Connemara, or in Derry in the mountains, or in Donegal.
Exactly.
Escaping persecution.
Yeah.
And got down on their knees and received their Lord on their tongue, risking their life.
Yeah.
And now some people just take the Eucharist in their hand like it's a cracker and walk away, and it's so casual. Yeah. And we're losing our belief in the Eucharist, in the supernatural.
Yeah.
And people are leading with obligation rather than passion, and engaging with their faith.
Yeah.
So we're not here to tell people to do that, but really, if there's going to be a revival, if we're going to reclaim our faith, we have to reclaim our belief and reverence in the Eucharist.
Yeah. 100% agree. And it's just as we were talking about it, that came into my head. Every knee shall bow, every tongue confess that Jesus Christ is Lord. And He is, and we will.
If we can really comprehend that, it's so much for us to comprehend, but if we can really, really grasp that Jesus is really, really present, and that we're receiving Jesus' body, blood, soul, and divinity, we will fall to our knees, and that's what's happened with me of late, and that's what I was talking about, God incidences, and when you hear God speaking to you,
It's an ongoing conversion, as Father Stephen would say in Derry, isn't it? In that, like, you were brought up strong in your faith and with practicing it. And then obviously you drifted away and you come back into it, and you're back into it in the last 18 years. But at the same time, still, you've recently just had that high in clarity and those powerful moments.
That's it,
where God gave you signs.
God gives me signs.
It's a constant conversion.
It's a constant conversion. Yeah, exactly. It's a constant conversion. You're constantly growing in relationship with the Lord. Just when you think,
I think that's
I've grown, or you're constantly, your soul is expanding all the time. So there's no limit to what you can open the Lord can bring into your life.
Amen.
So it's amazing.
I think the difference there is the relationship with God, the talking to Him. I think, when obviously we're younger and stuff, and we didn't understand the fullness of that, and we just went out of obligation and we didn't know, but we had those moments of getting on the knees and crying out to Him, and then it became a conversation with God. And I think that's when the shift happens. When it becomes a conversation with God, and you have that, you talk to Him daily, and it is more of a relationship, whereas before, I think I would have looked at it like, like God was some distant somewhere up in the sky and there's no getting near Him, or, the older I've become, it's like, no, He is become my, first of all, only he's not a person, well, He was a person in life that's never let you down. He's reliable. You go to Him when you're happy, when you're sad, no matter what mood, He'll love you and He meets you. He's merciful. He is all love. He is all those things that we seek. So I think that is the difference I think that made all the difference in my faith, that the conversation.
Absolutely, and it's the real presence, like in a world where we've so much devices for communication. People are suffering, from loneliness, and I think like the art of conversation is lost now. We're looking at screens, and it's the only place with the Lord. You've got full presence of the Lord there, and I think that people are craving presence. They're craving the presence of one another, but also the presence of God in their lives, and Jesus is just there waiting. He's just there waiting for people to speak to Him, to come in, and even if they've been away from their faith, it doesn't matter how long, just come in, light a candle, speak to the Lord, call out to Him like I did, and just watch how things turn around then in your life. It's just amazing. I'm always amazed that all the different things that happen and God instances in my life, and when I look back I can see His hand in everything and where He's led me to now. So
I love that.
Amazing.
I love that. Yeah, we actually talk about this, that actually, of course, ask and you shall receive.
Yeah.
People don't understand that is true.
Yeah.
Ask and you shall receive. And if you call out the Lord, you say, please help me, guide me, He will do it.
He will answer.
That's really all it takes sometimes.
One thing you can do as well, He says, with His word that He has given us, we can turn it back and say, well, you says, ask and I will receive. Knock and the door will be open while I am asking you. And like, honestly, people need to realize that you can do that, and He does listen. And sometimes maybe if something isn't the best for you, well, He'll guide you to something that is, but ask and you will receive.
That's it. You can't outdo God in generosity. So if something is not for you, He'll give you something better.
And it's always for the greater good.
And it's trusting Him that, for His plan for your life, rather than you trying to take the reins of your own life and saying, I'm going to do this and I'm going to go here or do this or whatever. It's God, it's handing over to the Lord because he knows best, he knows you best.
Well, I'd say just about even atheists. Like, I'd love to just say it to atheists, because first of all, if you're an atheist, you can't be happy. You are God. You are driven by your wants and pleasures. That is endless darkness. If you're an atheist, what have you got to lose by getting down on your knees and say, Jesus, please, I surrender to you. Will you guide me? Or increase my faith? What have you got to lose? You know, because what's going to happen is an explosion is going to happen.
Yeah.
If you do it, if you do that, you're going to get what you want.
Makes me think of Bishop Barron. What do you, John used to
When
repeat
the Holy Spirit when the Holy Spirit takes over your life, you are not in control.
Yeah.
That's
You are
what
not in
happens.
control.
No, you're not
That's
in
what
control.
happens.
Yeah, that's it. Yeah.
Because then you just realize
Every day is a new adventure, or it's a, you know, you're open
never
to the
know
Holy
where you're
Spirit,
going to
so you
next.
don't know, you know, and you trust all of that, and the people who come into your life, you trust the Lord is sending them in, or people that you meet, the Lord is guiding
it's
your
funny,
life.
then when you are in control, you're miserable.
Yeah,
When you're in control.
yeah.
So we don't know
Well,
what
that's been our experience when we were in control of
Yeah.
our own.
that's I think anybody's, if you don't have God controlling your life.
Yeah, definitely.
I think it is.
Well, you have so
That's
much
what
worry as well, because you think you're trying to, you know, manage your own life, and you're trying to,
This and that. Oh God, how are we doing it?
you're trying to organise everything the way you think you want it to work out for you. But
But it's also like, if you think about it, it's a very subtle undercurrent of idolatry if you are an atheist, in a way.
yeah,
Because you're driven by just you are the center of your universe.
Yeah.
You are the ego. So it's really idolatry in a way.
Yeah.
No wonder atheism brings something good to the world.
yeah,
You know,
yeah,
look at Joseph Stalin. You know,
yeah,
the biggest
Big
mass
man.
murderer of the 20th century, who was a staunch atheist. You know, all these tyrannical leaders.
Yeah.
Mao, the same. The 20th
Yeah.
century, driven. Even Hitler, who publicly said he was Christian. Privately, he absolutely did not, and he was an atheist.
yeah.
So Hitler, Stalin, Mao, staunch atheists, killed 120 million people between them in the 20th century. Are we surprised? You know, all the leaders of the Bolsheviks revolution is the same. Like, you know,
Going hard in the early atheists
Go
today,
on.
John.
Shane, I'm trying to get you, Shane. But Shane is a good one. Shane is a good one. It's possible. It's possible.
They're all good people.
Yeah.
I'd say, apart from Mai and whoever you
But I
just
mean,
mentioned.
Shane
there.
is not Stalin, you know.
Oh, good. Maybe then we always round the podcast up by asking someone, you know, if you could offer advice to someone, or, you know, fruits of your own kind of love of God to someone, to help them to some sort of direction if they're lost. How would you speak to somebody, or what would you want to say about faith and where you are?
About faith. So that God is just in, you know, just be open to God in your life. Just allow yourself to just have God in your life. Just give God a chance, basically, you know. If you haven't been back to Mass in years, you know, it just give God a chance and come back to the beautiful universal family of the Catholic faith. You can start, you know, by just calling out to God from wherever you are right now. Just call out to him and ask him, okay, God, just come into my life. Just, you know, come in, you can light a candle, and maybe just say some prayers to some loved ones as well, for the holy souls can help you, you know. And if there's any particular saint you might feel drawn to, with the powerfulness of the saints, confession is the most important thing that you can do. To come back to confession, to come back into the embrace of our Lord. Doesn't matter how long you've been away, doesn't matter what sins you have, the Lord is there waiting with open arms to bring you back, you know. And what a relief and what a weight off your shoulders, just to be able to feel that freedom and to have your life back fully, you know, with the Lord in it. It's powerful, it's amazing. Come back to confession is the first thing I would say to anybody. Come back to experience God's love and God's mercy, and watch just the doors opened for you in all areas of your life.
Amen.
Amen to that.
Thank
Thank
very
you
much.
so much.
God bless
you.
you, Patricia.
Thank you so much. Thank you both so much.